Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So when you open a new presentation file, that file is always displayed with this one slide. So this is the default slide that will always come with a new presentation that you are creating. And every new presentation will come with this default name where we see presentation 1. And this slide is what we call the title slide. So the title slide contains what we see here as the dotted lines. So these dotted lines we see, inside them they have some words, some sentences. The second one is talking of click to add subtitle, and the first one is talking of click to add title. So these dotted lines are what we call the placeholders. So the placeholders enables us to go ahead and work with the text. If you want to insert any text in the slide, then you work with the placeholder. So it is just a matter of clicking in that placeholder, then you can type there the text that you want. For instance, I can talk of video conference. So that is the title that you have decided to put. Then the subtitle, you can say maybe we are in our workshop, then you talk of, or you can go ahead and explain what the video conference is. So this add subtitle, you can explain what video conference is. Then the first placeholder, you put the title, and your title is maybe video conference. Then we would like to go ahead and explore other layouts in other types of slides, because PowerPoint has a number of slides that you can decide to work with. So to access other slides, we shall just use this home tab. Then you go to the slides group. From the slides group, we have the new slide button. So you just click besides it. So you realize that all the slides that we insert in PowerPoint have got the names. So just like I said, this first slide is what we call the title slide. Then we have got the title and content slide, which is quite different from the title slide. So when you click on this title and content slide, it means that it will get inserted in your presentation. Like this first slide, we also see the placeholder. And I'll say the placeholder is to allow you work with the text. So click to add title. You can decide to put there a title of your choice. For instance, you're talking about advantages of computers. So you type there, that is the title. Then in this placeholder, we can now add the text as we see on the screen. So to add text, you click there, and then you say, I'm now going to talk about the advantages of computers. So you give the advantages. For instance, you can say saves time. Then you put as advantages, and so on. You keep on typing the text. But what is helping us to do this is what we call the placeholder. So without the placeholder, it means that we shall not be in a position to insert the text that we see on our screen. Then there is another part of this type of slide. I'm going to insert another slide but of this very type. So we shall go to the new slide button, then I click on title and content slide. So when I click on it, we shall realize that inside this placeholder there are some features there. So these features here, they can help you to work with some other objects that you may want to insert in the placeholder. For instance, if you want to insert a table, then you'll just come and work with this button for insert table. So you don't need to go to the insert tab to insert a table when you have this type of slide in your presentation. So if you want to work with charts, then you just click on this insert chart button. Then you'll be in position to insert the chart. You can also insert the smart art graphics using this option. So you don't need also to go there, but all these options you are working from within this placeholder. Besides these three, you can also insert the media clips. Media clips can include the sound files and the videos. So if you want to insert a video, then it means you'll just click on this button, then you'll have the video inserted. Then you can work with the clip arts just as you would do if you went to this insert tab. And lastly, you can also insert a picture in this very slide just using this insert picture from file button. Then before we can try out one or two of these features, let's look at some other few slides. So we shall click on the new slide button. Then here we have what we call the section header slide. So for it comes with the two placeholders, as we can see from this preview. Then we have what we call the to content slide. So I'll click to insert it. So with the to content slide, for it comes with three placeholders. The first placeholder is telling us to add the title. So this means that you will add the title here. So you just click, then you put the advantages of computers. Then with this type of slide, when do we use it? We use this slide, for instance, if you want to arrange the contents in two columns, and those contents are from this same heading. So you're looking at advantages of computers, and you want the advantages to be arranged in these two columns. So that's why we see the placeholders arranged in form of the column. So you just click here, then you add the advantages, saves time, then you can add more other advantages. Now even still with this placeholder, if you have a lot of contents that you may want to work with and they can't fit in the first column, then you go to the other column, then you add more advantages and maybe say helps in research. Then you keep on adding more other contents, but all these contents will all be talking about the advantages of computers. So that's when we can use the two columns. If you want to arrange our contents in the two columns, then you will use the two content slide. Besides the two content slide, we have one more slide which is known as the comparison slide. So the comparison slide almost resembles the two content slide, but if you look critically, it is different somehow. So I'm going to click to insert this slide. Now when you insert, you will have the slide inserted. This area is what we call the slide pane. So if you want to work with a given slide, you just go to the slide pane and click on the thumbnail of the given slide, then the details will be displayed on your screen. Now with this comparison slide, you are going to work with maybe you want to compare two different subjects. For instance, you want to look at the advantages and disadvantages of computers. So you just click there, and the overall title will be Advantages and Disadvantages of Computers. So this is the overall title. Now you want to compare the advantages of computers to the disadvantages. So sometimes they ask students to create such kind of slides in their presentation. Now that means comparison, you work with the comparison slide. So after typing this, then we have another placeholder here. Click to add text. So in this placeholder, you will click there. Then what you will do is to write advantages. After writing advantages, it means that in this placeholder where we see click to add text, since this placeholder is just below the advantages placeholder, it means that all the contents below the placeholder will be focusing on the advantages of computers. So you can now talk of research purposes, business, study purpose, and so on and so forth. But when they are all talking about the advantages of computers, then on this other side, now you will put the disadvantages. So these disadvantages, they are of computers. You can go ahead and say disadvantages of computers, and here you can say advantages of computers, but what matters here is the heading. The heading has to be clear that you are looking at the advantages and disadvantages of something. So that's why we see of computers. Then here no need to again repeat advantages of computers, disadvantages of computers. So after putting disadvantages, click to add text. Now here you will put the disadvantages of computers. For instance, promoted moral decay, prone to viruses, expensive, etc. So you are now trying to compare the two things. So this one will help you to compare. This slide helps you to go ahead and compare those two different issues or subjects that you want to compare. So that is it with the comparison slide. Then we want to look at one more. We have this type of slide which is known as title only. So with the title only, once inserted, it will come with only one placeholder. So let's click to insert. So when you click to insert, you realize that there is a single placeholder, and it requires you to put the title. So you can put your title. Maybe you can talk of introduction to networks. So that is all with this slide. Now the question will come, how about if I want to add more text in this slide without using this placeholder? Now when you click in this empty space, you realize that there is no any way how I can go ahead and insert text. So to insert text, it means that you are going to introduce what we call the text box. So the text box can also be found from the home tab. So it is just under the drawings group. This button is for the text box. So you just click on that button. Then after clicking, there is that feature that we see on the screen. So now you can click, hold the mouse piece down, move to draw the text box. Then after, you release the mouse button. Now from there, you can now type in the text that you wanted or that you want. Maybe you can say a network is a group of computers connected together with the aim of sharing resources. So you have done all that with the help of a text box. Text boxes can also work as placeholders. So with this text box, you can increase its size if you want using those points. So you can just press the enter key and you have the size of the text box increasing. You can also use those points. So when you want to work with these placeholders, you can still reduce the size of the placeholder if you want. You can move this placeholder to any point that you want within your slide. So that's it with the title only slide. Then we have sometimes what we see here as the blank slide. With the blank slide, you realize that it is totally blank or empty, as the name suggests. So this means that once you click to insert the blank slide, that slide will come without any placeholder. So that means that if you want to work with the slide or to insert the text in this slide, then you will need to work with the text box. So besides using this, you can also get the text box from the insert tab. So from the insert tab, we have here the text box option. So when you click on it, you can come and draw the text box. You can draw as many text boxes as you want in a given slide, provided you want to work with them. So in this text box, you can go ahead and put in maybe types of networks. So you can reduce the size of this text box. You can move this text box to any point of your slide as you may want. You can do any kind of formatting that you want. So those are the few slides that I wanted to discuss or present to you. I just urge you to try to work with these two remaining ones. Then before I can stop the presentation, let's have a look at this feature under the comparison slide. Just like in the first, in the content and title slide, in the comparison slide, you can also work with these different objects. So they are there and also in this very placeholder. It is just a matter of clicking on one of them, then you will have that feature inserted in your presentation. To move up, I will just click on this button. Then you can now move within the slides by clicking on the thumbnails. So let's try out one of these features and we shall try to insert a table in our placeholder. So I'll click on Insert Table. So when you click on the Insert Table button, then the Insert Table dialog box is displayed on your screen. From this dialog box, you can now go ahead and insert the number of columns that you want. That's why we see number of columns. If you want 5 columns, then you can leave at 5. If you want 3 columns, you delete and set 3 columns. If you don't want to type, you can just use the buttons besides. You can insert as many columns as you may want, and you can reduce the number of columns if you want. Likewise, with the rows, you can decide to increase or reduce them. So after you're through with all these settings, then you can now say, yes, let's create our table. So when you click to create the table, then the table will be created for you. Now here, you can now start to enter the data in the table. For instance, we shall say name. Then I press on the tab key just like we do in Excel. Then we go ahead and maybe say class. Then address. Maybe age. And so on. Then you can now go ahead and maybe put the names like Henry. He's in senior 1. Address, maybe can put the address, then age. You can also put the age as you want. So from this very table, you can work with the table styles. If you want a different style, you just go and change. If you want this table style, you click and you will be seeing the changes from the screen. Even under the layouts, there are some options as we shall see, but there are a lot of table styles that you can work with. All these are the table styles that you can decide to work with. More are just below there. So I'll click to remove that. Then with the layout, you click on the layout. If you want to go ahead and maybe delete some contents, maybe you don't want a given row, then you just work with that row. If you want to insert some columns, then you will use these buttons. Then these buttons will help you to work with the rows, as we can see. There are other settings that you can work with, and I can tell you, just keep on trying. To create more rows, just using the tab key, you just keep on pressing on the tab key and you'll see more rows created for you. But there is one thing you have to realize, that if you don't click on this table, then you will not be in position to access the features that you can use to format this table. So when you click, then the layout tab and the design tabs are added onto these other tabs. So When this table is selected, that is when you can access these two tabs. When it is not selected, then the tabs will not be available. So that's how I can stop, and maybe if you have some input, you can also add the input. Thank you to everyone. I'm now stopping my screen.